All right, get ready, because we're diving headfirst into the haunted tales of Kolkata.
Ooh!
Kolkata.
We've got a whole bunch of online articles
Okay,
all about the spooky spots
sounds good.
in this amazing city.
Right.
So think of it like our Ghost Hunters guidebook, right?
Yeah.
We're not just going to list off a bunch of stories, are we?
No. We're going to dig a little deeper, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really easy to just get swept up in all the scary, spooky stuff.
Right.
But I think these stories, they're really tied to Kolkata's history.
Yeah.
And, what's really interesting to me is that a lot of these haunted places
Yeah.
are from way back in the British Raj era.
Mm.
It's like those days have left their mark on the city,
Yeah.
a ghostly imprint.
It really makes you wonder if it's the city itself that's haunted, not just specific buildings.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kolkata has a reputation, and we're not talking about the food.
Right.
We're talking ghosts, eerie happenings, the kind of stuff that makes you sleep with the lights on.
So let's kick things off with the National Library.
Oh, the National Library, a place filled with knowledge and apparently some spirits, too.
Okay.
It used to be the home of a British Governor General
Uh-huh.
and his wife, Lady Metcalfe.
Okay.
They say she still wanders the halls.
Is she just looking for a good book or what? What's going on there?
Well, she was known for being really, really obsessed with cleanliness.
Oh.
And some people say she's still making her rounds, making sure everything's in tip-top shape.
Wow.
I've heard stories of students and staff working late, hearing her footsteps echoing in the silence, or catching glimpses of a shadowy figure.
Oh, no thank you.
Can you imagine trying to focus on your work with that going on?
Not a chance.
No.
No, I would be out of there so fast.
Yeah.
And there's that whole thing with the secret room, right?
Oh, yeah. During some renovations,
Uh-huh.
they found this hidden room completely sealed off, no way in. Nobody knows what it was for, even now.
A secret study, maybe.
A secret vault? Who knows? It just adds to the mystery.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a quiet library,
Yeah.
we're now going to a place with a lot more noise. The Royal Calcutta Turf Club.
A racetrack.
You wouldn't think a racetrack would be haunted, right?
You wouldn't think so, but it turns out even a place for sports can have its spooky tales.
So tell me about it.
Well, this one's about a horse.
Okay.
A beautiful white horse named Pride.
Ah.
And her owner, George Williams, adored this horse. They were inseparable. And Pride, they say, she was unbeatable.
Oh, wait.
Until one tragic race.
What happened? Did something bad happen during the race?
Well, Pride lost that race.
Okay.
And sadly, she died soon after.
Oh.
But that wasn't the end of her story. People say they see her ghost galloping across the track on those moonlit Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And sometimes when fog settles on the track,
Yeah.
they call it William Saheb Kisada Gora, which means
Okay.
William Saheb's white horse.
Wow, imagine seeing that while you're trying to place your bets.
Spooky, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting how some of these places hold on to the energy of a specific event, while others seem to be, like, haunted by a ton of different characters.
Yeah, it's like they're layered.
Right. Which brings us to Hastings House, also known as Boot Bangla.
Boot Bangla.
I mean, that name's pretty straightforward, right?
Pure ghost house.
Yeah, they're not messing around.
No subtlety there.
Not at all.
Nope.
So it's said to be haunted by Warren Hastings himself,
Oh, really?
forever searching for this lost folder that could have cleared his name during impeachment charges.
Oh, imagine that. Forever stuck in bureaucratic limbo.
That's more frustrating than scary.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling there's more to this haunting than just paperwork.
You're right, there is.
Right.
There's another tragedy tied to the house, the spirit of a young boy who died playing football on the grounds.
Oh.
And what's really creepy is that students who play there today,
Yeah.
they often get injured in the exact same spot he died.
Wow, is it just a coincidence or something more?
It's definitely eerie, like the past is trying to reach out.
It's like it's echoing through time.
Exactly.
And speaking of the past reaching out, let's go to Lower Circular Road Cemetery
Okay.
and talk about Sir William Hay McNayton.
Sir William, now his story is truly tragic.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So he was a civil servant during the First Anglo-Afghan War, and he met a very gruesome end. His body was recovered in pieces by his wife.
Oh, that's just awful.
It really is, and the brutality of it seems to have soaked into the cemetery itself.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, they say the tree over Sir William's grave,
Yeah,
it shivers whenever someone tells his story.
really? like it's reacting to his death.
It's like the tree is absorbing all the sorrow, the shock, holding on to it all these years.
That is definitely a detail that sticks with you.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if objects can hold on to emotions, memories, something beyond us, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so up until now, we've been talking about places that are like steeped in history.
Right.
But Kolkata also has some modern-day hauntings, too.
Yes, it does.
Like the Rabindra Sarobar metro station. I mean, that's not your typical spooky place, is it?
Not at all. You wouldn't think a busy metro station would be
Right.
haunted.
Exactly.
But it seems like it has a dark side.
Yeah, our sources talk about shadows on the platform, pillars, weird colors on the tracks, and just unsettling stuff happening in the last train compartments.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Sadly, that station has seen a lot of suicides.
Oh, wow.
And it's like the trauma of those events has become part of the station itself.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Makes you think about all the unseen layers in a place like that.
It really does.
And from there, let's move on to a place that's both sacred and feared.
Oh, okay.
The Ghats of the Ganges.
The Ganges, such a powerful symbol in India, so sacred.
It is, but like any river,
Yeah.
it's also a place of strong currents.
Yeah.
Things getting lost, things hidden. Now, our sources mention this specific ghat near the Mullet Ghat flower market,
Okay.
where people say they see hands reaching out of the water.
Hands.
Yeah, and there are even stories about a woman in a white sari sobbing and calling out names.
That's a haunting image. The river, the flowers, and then these desperate hands.
Right. It's like something out of a nightmare.
It really is. And that woman in white, it's a classic symbol of sorrow and loss.
It's like these stories tap into some primal fear in us.
I think you're right.
You know, it's fascinating how these stories blur the lines between our world
Yeah.
and something else. Are those hands reaching for help or something we just can't understand?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
What's beyond our grasp? What can we learn from these glimpses into the unknown?
It's not just about being scared.
No.
It's about the mystery, the possibility that there's more to everything than we realize.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of places where that line seems really thin, let's talk about the Nimtala Burning Ghat. Now, this one's not so much about ghosts in the traditional sense,
Right.
but more about the perception of this place.
Yeah.
Because this is where the Aghoris, a sect of Hindu ascetics, do their rituals, especially during Kali Puja.
Right.
The practices, with death and cremated remains,
Yeah.
they're often seen as taboo, scary to those outside of their tradition.
Absolutely.
It's like what we think of as haunted is shaped by our own culture,
Right.
by what we consider acceptable and unacceptable.
Yeah, the boundaries we draw.
Exactly. And sometimes the scariest encounters
Yeah.
aren't with ghosts,
Yeah.
but with the unknown,
Right.
with things that challenge how we see the world.
Absolutely. Our sources also mention a few other places quickly. The Writers Building, the House of Dolls, the Wipro office in Salt Lake Sector 5, and South Park Street Cemetery.
Okay, each with their own spooky stories.
Each one with a tale to tell.
So it seems like in Kolkata, you can't escape the ghost stories.
It's woven into the city.
It's like every corner holds a memory or a whisper from the past.
Right. But of all these places, there's one that stands out as especially creepy.
Oh, which one?
The Horror Palace.
Oh, that sounds promising.
It's this abandoned mansion
Okay.
on the outskirts of the city, said to be cursed because of the former owner,
Ooh, curse.
a British landlord named Jonathan Blake.
What kind of curse?
Well, he was known for being really cruel, exploiting the local people for his own gain.
Sounds like a real charmer.
And his death, along with the deaths of his family, were all very mysterious.
Oh, that adds to the whole creepy vibe for sure.
It does.
They're like a classic horror movie plot.
Right. You know, those characters should just stay away.
But they never do.
Never.
So, of course, some people couldn't resist checking it out.
Of course not.
Right. Locals say they see flickering lights, hear cries coming from inside, shadowy figures by the windows.
It's enough to keep you away, you'd think.
You'd think so, but I bet some brave souls still snuck in.
There's always someone. And there's this one story
Oh, tell me.
about a group of young men who spent the night there.
Okay.
They said they felt this oppressive presence, like something heavy was weighing them down.
Ooh, I don't like that.
And they heard voices whispering their names.
What can I do?
And one of them even saw a blood-stained handprint appear on a window.
Okay, that's just straight up terrifying.
It is. And did anything happen after they left?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, one of the guys, he got really sick right after.
Oh, no.
He said he was haunted by what he experienced in that mansion.
Really? like plagued by it.
Yeah, tormented by unseen forces until the day he died.
Wow, it's like the horror palace just doesn't let go.
It really seems that way.
Yeah, like the past is trapped there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have, from libraries and racetracks to cemeteries and mansions.
It's amazing how many haunted spots there are in Kolkata.
It's like the city is one big ghost story.
Right. But before we move on, I want to hear from you, the listener.
Yes, tell us.
What stood out to you from all these stories? What chills lingered?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Share your thoughts, your own spooky encounters. We want to hear it all.
We're all ears.
We'll dive even deeper into Kolkata's haunted legacy in part 2 of this deep dive.
So stay tuned. It's like these stories are echoes bouncing through time,
Yeah.
reminding us that the past isn't always so far behind us.
I love that idea of Kolkata itself being haunted,
Yeah,
not just certain places.
exactly. And what makes Kolkata so unique is this mix of cultures, right? You've got the colonial past, the ancient traditions, all happening in this modern, bustling city.
Yeah,
It's a real melting pot.
it is.
And it seems like even the supernatural side of things reflects that.
You've painted such a vivid picture, I'm almost ready to book a flight.
Oh, you should!
Maybe I'll stick to daytime exploring for now, though.
Probably a good idea.
But seriously, you've given me a lot to think about.
Good.
What do you think, listener? What makes Kolkata so haunted? Is it the history, the culture, something else entirely? Let us know on social media.
Yeah, we want to hear your theories.
And while you're thinking about that,
Yeah.
why not dig into Kolkata's history a bit more,
Mm-hmm.
especially the British Raj era?
Yeah, understanding that time period can really change how you see these stories.
It's like getting the backstory to a really good book.
Exactly.
And speaking of backstories,
Yeah?
we can't forget about Indian folklore and mythology, right?
No, absolutely. There's a whole world of stories about ghosts and spirits
Yeah.
that add so much to these modern hauntings.
It's like a giant puzzle, right?
It is.
You've got the historical events, the cultural beliefs,
Yeah.
and then these unexplained things happening.
And we're left trying to put it all together.
And that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's real, what's legend,
Right.
what's history, what's folklore.
But even with all that context, some of these stories,
Yeah.
they just can't be explained.
And that's where the real mystery lies.
It really is. It makes you wonder.
It does.
Could any of these hauntings actually have a normal explanation?
Right. Or are we seeing something beyond what we understand?
It's a big question.
It is. I mean, maybe some of them are just tricks of the light, right?
Yeah.
Or people's imaginations running wild.
Could be.
Maybe even natural stuff that we just don't get yet.
Maybe. But what about the ones that just don't make sense?
Yeah, the ones that leave people totally freaked out.
The ones that make you question what you saw?
I actually kind of like that there are still mysteries out there. Things we can't just explain away.
Yeah.
It keeps things exciting.
It does, and it makes for some great stories. There's definitely something alluring about the unexplained, right?
For sure.
It's a good reminder that we don't have all the answers.
We don't.
That there are still forces out there in the universe
Yeah.
that we might never fully grasp.
It's humbling in a way,
It is.
And it makes you appreciate the power of stories, how they connect us to the past, to the unknown, to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that's our deep dive into the haunted tales of Kolkata.
What did you think?
What chills stuck with you?
What stories resonated with you?
What stood out?
Yeah, what really stuck with you?
Share your thoughts, your own spooky stories.
We're all ears.
But before we go,
Yeah.
I've been thinking,
Okay.
we talked about history, the culture, all those unexplained things, but we haven't really touched on
What's that?
the psychology of it all.
Oh, interesting.
Like, why are we so drawn to these stories in the first place?
That's a great question. Why are we?
Right.
It's almost like a need to face our own mortality,
Yeah.
to explore those blurry lines between the living and, well, the not so living.
It's a little creepy, but also kind of fascinating.
It is.
Maybe it's also about connection,
Oh, how so?
like feeling like we're part of something bigger,
Yeah.
something beyond just our everyday lives.
Something that goes beyond just us.
Right. And I think it's so interesting how these stories,
Yeah.
they just keep going, even now.
Mm-hmm.
Like with all our technology and science,
Yeah.
you'd think that ghost stories would disappear,
Right.
but they haven't, have they?
No, they haven't.
It seems like people are more fascinated with the paranormal than ever.
I wonder if it's because our lives are so digital now.
What do you mean?
Well, maybe it's a need for something real, something you can touch.
Something that can't be explained by an algorithm.
Exactly. Something that makes us stop and think, wait a minute, what's going on